it's Hillary here with Lazy Lima DIY, and don't mind the mess behind me. It is so much better than it was, so I'm happy about it. Today's project, I have this little book box, and let's see if I can open it up without spilling all the goodies inside. This is my Dungeons and Dragons box. It's a Tim Holtz box that I got at Tuesday morning for I think like $3 or $4, maybe $5. Maybe I was feeling, you know, all Rockefeller-ish that day. But what I like about it is it's got all these little compartment boxes in here and they come out. And so I really want to decorate this. So we're going to take all the boxes out. And I have this new tripod system, so we're going to try to bend this down so you can see what I'm doing. But I don't know how sturdy it is because I got it. It came with, I don't know, it came with something else and it's doing all these things. But anyway, this is the box when it's empty. And it looks like a book. I can put it on a shelf. And I've talked about Dungeons and Dragons a little bit before, and I'll probably talk about it a little bit today. But one of my teammates has a box like this, and my character kind of wants what everybody else has, so she wants one too. So anyway, I got some, faded tissue paper. I just took some scraps. I have like this with some writing on it. I want to put like a jewel on the front, so I have like little metal pieces. I don't know if these can be used, but these little hang tags from Tim Holtz. I've got some glitter markers. I've got some leather cording, which isn't leather, it's faux leather. I found this when I was looking for my looking for some of my materials. I found this, which is I believe like a Chinese stamp paste, and I always loved the way that looked. It doesn't, smell horrible, but it does look like some of the oil is separating from the pigment, so I don't know if that's usable, but we might use it. I also have some gel medium, and I'm going to be using this nori glue that I got a while ago, a long time ago in a video. I talked about that, and I think I've used it once for thin paper, and it was no bueno. It really like buckled the paper. Also, I got some papers out, and I have mystery papers because I have so much that I just grabbed 2 rolls here, and I don't even know what they are. Some sugar skulls, some octopi. So we'll see what we use. And as usual, you know how it goes. You know how I am. I have all the projects out and I say what I'm going to do, and then it turns out completely different. So buckle up. We're going to be in for a bit of a long video, and because I have no idea where we're going with this. Oh, I also have I found a drawer of sealing wax. I mean, seriously, I don't remember having this much sealing wax. So those are all the things we might be using, and plus more. So let's go ahead and move the camera down and get started. Okay, so here's our box, here's our tissue paper, and I'm just going to start tearing that up. I was going to paint the box, but I like this idea much better. And, if I don't like it, I can throw a couple of layers of paint on top of it. I kind of want to get the faded bits. My character in Dungeons and Dragons is a rogue elf. Which, according to everything that is on the D&D, website about elves and dark, rogues and whatnot, is that, they're untrustworthy characters, and they're, out for themselves, and, common thieves. But me, I think my character, her name is Jetris, is just misunderstood. you know, I used to have a bunch of these little metal brushes. They're nice because you can use them for glue, and you don't have to worry about them getting all, damaged. But I would like a more sustainable glue brush that washes out well, because these, you can just kind of throw them away when you're done. And maybe that's not the sort of thing we should be doing right now. But anyway, back to Dungeons and Dragons. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, it's basically a role-playing story game. So you get, your setting, and you create your character, and your other players are, somehow you meet each other, and you are given a quest by your dungeon master, and you decide how your character proceeds on this quest. Along the way, you will fight some battles, you will meet some good characters, some bad characters, and it's all good fun. It took me a while to kind of get into it because I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I went into it in the best way possible, just basically not knowing anything, and that's kind of how I like to do things. In general, I don't want to, do 10 years of research and figure out like what I'm supposed to. I'd rather just be thrown in and figure it out on my own. But I kind of just felt like, I was supposed to be following these random rules. Well, I guess they're not random, but it's so involved. It seems random because, your moves are based on a roll of the dice. And I still don't quite get how some dice are used and some aren't, but pretty much everything is, if you, I lost my dice. If you have 20-sided dice, that's probably what you roll the most. And here they are. So your 20-sided dice, die, I guess, is what tells you, like if you hit the enemy, or if you detected that there were, there was magic or in whatever you were about to pick up. And along the way, you build up your skills so you're better at determining if you're going to be successful at that particular skill. And so, like the other day, what was I trying to do? I think I was just trying to use my short bow to kill somebody. And don't worry, they needed killing. And I kept rolling like really low, like threes. And so my arrows just were not hitting. But my character is what's called a rogue elf, which I've just mentioned. And she is chaotic neutral, which means she is kind of out for herself, but, not just because she's out for herself. She has a reason. She has priorities. She has a code. But I really like the story playing aspect of it, because, I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I do enjoy writing. And when you're writing by yourself, you know where the story is pretty much going to go, where you have control over it. Whereas here, it's, you have 6, 7, 8 characters you're playing with, and they just might decide to do something totally different than what you think should happen. So the story never quite goes where you think it's going to go. I'm liking that. I like how the faded parts, and it looks like it's not bleeding, so that is most excellent. Let's get some darker bits over here. And your character can decide to go. You don't have to stay with the group. Your character can decide to go off on their own quest or whatever. So we're currently on a campaign that's in a dungeon. Dungeons and Dragons, get it? Dungeons, and more dungeons. And my character was waylaid by the smell of fine stew and fresh bread, much like Hillary would be. So she goes off to explore where the bread and stew smell, because she's hungry and she's gonna, get herself some grub. And it turned out to be some sort of evil stew monsters that she brilliantly leads back to the group. God, I love that about my character. And she has managed to get herself out of some pretty death-defying scrapes with, very little damage. And so that's also fun. And a bit there. Now, your character can get killed in game. That's happened before to, I think, 4 of our characters. And your players, sometimes we were given the option because we were, I don't know if this happens in, later games where a lot of us are beginners. So we were given the option of having our character resurrected or building a new character. But my character is just sort of like this bumbling sort of. She's good at what she does. She's good at getting information and figuring out who's who. She's pretty good at that, but she is in the company of some pretty amazing magical beings, and she's a little bit jealous of that. She wants some magic, but she also has a backstory that drives her actions. She's a young elf, but she's been on her own for a while, and she is a survivor with very little survival skills. You can pick your skills, and it's things like strength and dexterity and persuasion, and all along, your skills will, you can choose to increase when you're allowed to level up. And poor Jostress, she's a survivor, but her survival skill is like -1. So luckily she doesn't ever have to roll for survival. She would not fare well. So anyway, I didn't think I would like Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't know what it was about. So how can I have determined that I wouldn't like it? But I kind of thought it was like, I don't know, like a weird video game, but no video. You know what? I might use some dyed gel medium on top of this to age it and finish out the corners. So here's our box so far, and it is still quite wet. We did not check the drying time of this glue. We just thought it would be good. So, what have you been up to since my last video? sort of interesting things have you made? I haven't really been making anything, to be honest. I think I told you in the last video that I've, sort of started reselling online since I got tired of the job market. And that's just been taking up a huge amount of my time. But I was recently told by some loving members of my tribe, you don't have a tribe. I highly recommend you get one, because you don't see when you're spinning, and they do. That I needed to get back to things that I found more enjoyable. Yeah, so I just haven't been creating anything. And since that is where I get a lot of my energy from, I was told, less staying up till midnight getting, Talbot's sweaters listed online, and more back to the things that I do. So here we are. I can always come back and do another layer if I feel like this is too thin. I want to make this look like something Jotress would carry, and I'll just let it hang over on the ends. I don't try to get it to stay, because it never works to my satisfaction. I'm always like, when I've done this in the past, I'm always fighting the end bits, and so I just learned to fix it in post. Actually, I'm liking this glue because it really is, positioning well. I'm finding this very relaxing. Speaking of relaxing, I put it on my Instagram this morning, but I just started the New York Times Well Challenge. So you have all these little things that they email you each day that you need to do. It's to, self-care, la-di-da. Build up your ability to do good things for yourself. And so today's was day one, and for me, meditation. So one of the basis of the challenge is to stack your habits, is what they're calling it. So something you already do regularly, stack an additional habit onto it. So that thing is, assuming that you have coffee or tea in the morning, which I usually don't. I only do when I'm working like at a job. But I normally don't when I'm at home, because I sort of wander and flounder a bit at home. But I do like my tea. So while you're having your tea, you take a minute to meditate. And actually, it was really a very good cup of tea I had this morning. There's other things that I don't quite know if you're supposed to. I guess you're supposed to do the new habit that you're, I'm supposed to meditate over my tea tomorrow as well for a minute. Okay. We're almost done here. Let's see, how many minutes are we in? Hi, I'm here. We're 22 minutes in. Okay, so we're just going to let this dry, and I might figure out what I'm going to cover this with. I think I want this to look like, one of the things that my character Jotress is looking for is she is looking for a book of spells, and it's very important to her to find this. And so I kind of want it to look like something that reminds her of that book. Don't like just that straight edge there. That looks gross. We're going to just let this dry. This nori, dang it, has like a little seal that keeps it airtight so your glue doesn't dry out on you, which is nice. So we're just going to let this dry. We're going to go wash out our brush, and we'll come back and continue when this is dry and ready to go.